welcome back to the show. I'm here with Christian Taylor.
Hey, Phil Vischer.
Hi, Christian. And Sky Jitani.
Hey, guys.
Hi. No one's wearing anything particularly outlandish. I mean, that's a very happy color,
I have a
Christian.
plaid going here.
He does purple,
Sky
to be
has
exact.
some purple plaid. Okay.
Yeah.
That's something, I guess.
It's outlandish. And you can't see my whole outfit.
No.
Yeah,
I guess I can't.
He's wearing a stormtrooper keychain.
Yeah, he's got a stormtrooper on a Lego stormtrooper.
He's a triple amputee, though.
Yes, he is. What happened?
He's got a limb left?
Yeah,
Here, we need to show this.
It's attached to my pants.
Oh, oh gosh.
This is
Sorry.
my keys. See, I don't know if anyone can see this. He's missing.
If you're listening on audio, he's holding a life-size stormtrooper.
No. It's a little Lego stormtrooper keychain. He's got no legs, missing one arm, and the hand off of another. He's slowly becoming Darth Vader.
So he's like the Black Knight from Holy Grail.
Right. It's just a flesh wound.
It's a flesh wound. Get over here and I'll bite you to death. Okay. I got a Facebook message from Mackenzie Evans Martz. I've been ignoring all the requests for specific theme song voices lately. And doing it pretty well.
That's good.
Yeah. Very convincing.
But Mackenzie had something interesting. She said, I think I found one of your random obscure characters that you haven't done yet. In the What's in the Bible Christmas special, there's a Captain Steve who Captain Pete is playing checkers with on Steve's pirate ship when the squirrel brings the party invitation. Mackenzie, you're almost correct. It's not Captain Steve. It's just Steve. And the pirate ship belongs to Captain Stewart, who we never see on camera, we hear off screen, and has a different voice. Captain Stewart talks like this. And Steve is actually the voice of Tom the Grape from VeggieTales. Which is this guy? He talks like this. So the question is, which one did you want me to do? Captain Steve or, no, Captain Stewart or Steve?
Go Stewart. I'm voting for Stewart.
Stewart, Captain Stewart, hey. Hey, it's a podcast. What do you know? Hey, it's a podcast. And they've got video. Hey, it's a podcast. So lend in here. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. We'll talk to Sky, won't we, Sky?
Indeed.
And Christian, too.
Absolutely.
Aye, say hello, kids. Like
Hi, boys and girls.
Thank you, that's nice. And maybe a guest. Yes, we've got one here for you.
Woohoo!
She's sitting right over there. Hey, it's a podcast. So lend in here. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. Okay.
Now, wait, how is that different than Captain Pete?
Captain Pete is like this.
Oh,
it's completely
he's more
different.
Scottish.
He's Scottish, and he's also par grape. It's a tone-up par grape with the Scottish.
How do you keep all
Which
these
is very
straight?
different than this guy.
Yeah, he's more pirate-ish.
I think I came up with that guy for the Jelly Telly series, a pirate etiquette with Captain Pete, which was one of the introductions of Captain Pete to our audience. But I needed a voiceover to say,
and now it's time for pirate etiquette with Captain Pete.
And it didn't feel like it should be Captain Pete, so I had to do a different pirate.
I like that.
How many pirates do you have?
Absolutely.
That reminds me.
None.
What's a pirate's favorite hymn?
I don't know. What is it?
How great thou art.
How great thou art.
How great thou art.
Did you get that on a popsicle stick?
I don't know.
Was that like
it's like bad truth. We do a lot of cartoons and
Our
leadership
guest is
journal.
booing already. We're in trouble.
our studio audience is protesting? Okay.
Bad jokes.
Next week, this is big news. Do you know what I'm about to say?
Yes,
I
I do.
do.
Next week is our
actually
100th episode of the 100th episode. Can you believe it?
I cannot.
That is pretty crazy.
We don't look a day over 29.
We were just going to sit around and talk, and now 100 episodes later.
How many sitcoms have not made it to 100 episodes?
Most of them.
Well, most of those take money and get paid. And
Which was their mistake, wasn't
That's
it?
the key.
They had just done a podcast.
Don't do anything that requires any money to change hands.
Or
then you
talent.
can do it as long as you want.
You can just keep going forever until the Diet Dr. Pepper runs out. But we need something. We're going to do something special. We need something from you guys. I already posted this on the Facebook page, but you can go to the Facebook page, Phil Vischer Facebook page. I don't know how you get there, the internets, and ask questions that you want us to answer on the 100th episode, because we're going to take the whole hour and just answer your questions about everything. And you can ask Sky really personal questions, and he promised he would answer them.
That is completely false.
The others of us, we won't. So don't ask personal questions.
So I do know how you get to your Facebook page, and I'd like to share that because if you haven't ever been to his Facebook page, please visit. There are a lot of very faithful posters there, and I love the conversation. And we often respond, or maybe not often, but occasionally we respond. And so all you need to do is Google Phil Vischer, and you'll see public figure come up. And
oh, yes.
That's you.
I have a public figure Facebook page, and then I have a personal Facebook page because I needed to go like visit my cousin's Facebook pages and see things that people were sending me. And then as soon as I did a personal Facebook page, mostly just to say hi to my nieces and nephews and cousins, then everybody wanted to be friends with me on that. And if you try that, generally I only friend people on my personal Facebook page that I actually know.
See,
or that is your family.
I made that mistake.
Which is a high standard.
Yeah, you did.
Exactly. Because I had a personal Facebook page for a long time, and I was just friending anybody, whatever. And then I created an author page, like a public profile page, and now I've been trying to get off of the personal page and only work on the public page. I can't do it.
And you know, I did the same thing too,
Tricky.
except when everybody friends me that I don't know. So just don't be offended. I do not accept friend requests from people that I don't personally know either. So
it all comes down to how you define the word friend.
that's true. I have to know you personally.
I like to know someone.
Except I will say there have
consider
been
them a friend.
a couple of podcasters that I got to know personally in a way.
Well, yeah, you can get to know someone online, I guess.
Yeah,
to
and
the
then I
point where
kind
you
of
become
friended,
friends.
accepted
Like
their
Peter
friend request.
Boghossian, for example.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the woman on ChristianMingle.com who got to know a nice gentleman in Nigeria and then wired him $500,000.
I thought he had me for 1 second. I thought he was.
ran away with it.
But they do have a relationship. It's just not a good one.
He's in prison.
Right.
And she didn't get all her money back. So the point being, go to the Facebook page and send in your questions. So we have interesting questions to respond to next week for the 100th, the centennial episode. Centenarian?
Centennial.
It's not that hard, actually.
You know,
It is if you make it
You know what
hard.
150 would be?
Sesquicentennial. Or is that 175?
You're right.
Because I lived in
Sesquicentennial.
Glen Ellen, Illinois, when they had their sesquicentennial. They had their 150.
We had a chapel on campus. It was a sesquicentennial chapel.
Really?
those are such interesting things to know.
And what if it's their 179th? Do you know what that's called?
170.
179.
It's not
Hey, can
called
people
anything 'cause
share?
It's not special.
Can people share stories also?
No.
Just questions.
No stories. I don't want to hear your stories.
I do.
Just want questions, unless you can phrase your story in the form of a question, which means write out your story and just put a question mark at the end. And then we'll read it, and we'll try to answer.
You have to read it with a certain inflection then.
Yeah, all the way through.
Right.
Slowly lilting in an upwardly direction is how we read things with question marks at the end.
All right.
What are we
I
talking
learned that
about
from
today?
Siri. The state of Louisiana attempted to make the Bible their official state book.
That's interesting.
Never mind.
Oh.
What were you going to say?
I keep forgetting I'm sitting next to a Southerner.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I wasn't going to say anything.
He was going to say, can they read it?
I was not going to say
Is that not what you were gonna say?
No, I was not.
Oh.
I certainly hope not.
I am curious to know, however, if they already have an official state book and what it is. Are they changing it, or are they just making a new
They're
category?
going from Pat the Bunny to the Bible. I don't know. Does anyone have a state book?
I've never heard of that.
Silliness. It seems like
We got to state everything else.
So, as it was headed to the Louisiana House floor for a vote Monday, the sponsoring representative, Thomas Carmody, you may not believe this, a Republican
Oh, what a shock.
from Shreveport,
Shocking.
scrapped his bill to make the Holy Bible the official state book. Carmody loves tragedy. What's that? How's that go? Said the proposal had become a distraction. Can you imagine that? How that could become
can't
kind of a
fathom that.
distraction? The bill received national attention, worrying some who felt Louisiana was trying to meld church and state, and others who said it would trivialize the Bible. So he
He's
took
getting it from
the whole
both sides.
thing back.
Well, why did he want to do it in the first place? What was the motivation?
Good question.
And again, what's the point? What does making it the official book do? Does that...
It just tells people how seriously Christian you are as a state. We are, or Jewish. What if you just made the Torah your official state book?
Okay.
That
Then you'd probably be New York or New Jersey.
would be different.
Or
Yeah, or parts of California.
parts of California, yeah.
Or the north side of Chicago.
I don't understand what the original intent was.
It just seems like many of us are very upset about change. We don't like change, and so we're trying to take things that we value and nail them to the wall so they can't be moved.
What about the First Amendment? Does he not understand?
The state cannot establish...
Congress shall establish no laws.
Yeah, right, but the Bible goes for Jews and Christians, so it's not a...
I don't know if the Jews would really say that.
Yeah,
which part?
The whole thing just seems really weird.
Uh-huh.
Like, and why wouldn't you choose a book about Louisiana?
That's a great question.
I think
really, like a John Grisham novel. Didn't he base them all down there?
He's from Mississippi.
Whatever.
Stop it. Don't even start with me on that.
There's a political agenda in that sort of thing?
I would think
safe to say that?
I think that you are absolutely correct.
Okay.
That we want to nail things to the wall because we feel them slipping away.
In our courtrooms.
Which version of the Bible was it going to be? Like which translation? Was it going to be a Hebrew and Greek Bible?
I think it was going to be the Living Bible. It was going to be a paraphrase. They were going to make or the Message. They were going to make the Message the official state book of Louisiana.
Okay.
That would be
Eugene
kind of funny.
Peterson's.
Yeah. Then he'd get a royalty every time someone pays a toll on a tollway.
Isn't there like a Cajun Bible or something with a Creole kind of?
I'm sure there's a Duck Dynasty Bible.
There you go.
Oh yeah, it's camo.
Yeah.
It's camo, baby.
In fact, I think I've seen it. Oh, we're playing music.
Stop it. My computer started playing music. In related news, and this stuff is happening all over the world.
What's that?
The world is on fire.
What?
But
literally?
We didn't start it.
We didn't. We did not start the fire.
That's hilarious.
The Prime Minister of England, Britain, UK, which is it? It's the UK. Prime Minister of the UK.
United Kingdom.
Which includes
until Scotland
England.
Leaves.
Until Scotland leaves, and then it's the disunited kingdom,
right?
I guess.
Ununited.
Cameron. What's his name? David
Cameron. Yeah, this is actually fascinating, I think.
Yeah,
well, I have no idea what you're talking about.
He spoke in church on Sunday, Easter Sunday, and he actually made the statement that Great Britain was a Christian nation and that he was happy about that, and he was proud to be a Christian and proud to send his kids to Christian schools.
What is his definition of Christian?
Well, wait, but the week earlier, he came out and declared himself an evangelical in his faith.
Officially?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
So, and it's really unusual for a politician in England to talk at all about God,
right.
faith, religion. Even Tony Blair didn't talk about his faith at all until after he left office, and he was a very committed Roman Catholic.
So a group of scientists, academics, and prominent writers have accused him, big surprise, of stoking sectarian divisions through his repeated description of Britain as a Christian country. They say to constantly claim that we are Christian fosters alienation and division in our society. It needlessly fuels enervating sectarian debates that are, by and large, absent from the lives of most British people who do not want religions or religious identity to be actively prioritized by their elected government. You couldn't say that in America. You couldn't say that the electorate does not want religion to be actively promoted by the government.
Here's the irony. Is the United States officially and constitutionally has no official religion.
Right.
And yet we like to talk about it in our politics ad nauseum. Whereas England officially is a Christian nation because the Queen or the monarch is not only the head of the government, but also officially the head of the church.
And that was my point. Isn't what he is saying factually accurate?
Yeah, but they don't want to talk about it in their public life and in their politics.
Because if you are a country with a
opposite
state church, you are, at least on paper, a Christian country.
That is fascinating.
Unless you have a state synagogue, then I guess you'd be a Jewish nation, or
well, that's Israel.
A temple. Do they have a temple?
No, they want one.
Who does?
Israel.
They want a new temple
in Jerusalem.
Yeah,
really?
In case you haven't heard that.
As a tourist attraction, or as like a temple?
There's a certain sects of Judaism that believe they have to rebuild the temple.
Did you say sex?
He knows that. Oh my gosh, we are
How
totally...
old is he? What happened here?
No, I don't know. I'm lost.
I don't know what's going on.
I'm lost.
Okay. And
next.
So see how the world is on fire?
Phil makes me look mature.
I think we've established.
That's amazing.
But yeah, absolutely makes you look mature.
And not just because of my hairline.
Well, see, but I give you the opportunity. I give you the opportunity to show restraint. Whereas in other contexts, you would have to be the one pushing the boundaries.
That's like an argument that
true.
Satan would give.
No, but that's really
I am giving Adam and Eve the opportunity to resist temptation.
What did you just compare me to? I don't know how I feel about that.
You know, I just think he likes to keep people off balance.
We may have to have a new co-host for our 100th episode.
Well.
Yeah, 100 episodes with you, pal, is one too many. That really hurt.
Do you know what I was surprised at? I didn't know if you were offended. In the Bogosian interview, he listed someone else as his friend.
What did I say?
Peter Bogosian?
Yeah.
Oh, no, me.
Him.
He said, come up with a friend.
Yeah, he did name you. I thought, I was like, wonder what Sky's thinking about that.
I said Jesus.
No, you did. At first.
At first,
yes.
Because it was funny.
He didn't think that was so funny.
He did. He thought it was
He said
funny.
he didn't expect it, I think.
No, it made him laugh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then I threw out my friend Paul Conrad.
Well, you've known Paul a whole lot longer than you've known me.
And he wanted to know how long I've known Paul. It was 20-some years.
That's
Would you
true.
trust him with the rope?
I'm not that insecure, Christian. I'm okay.
I know, but I would say you are in
Did
Phil's
you say Christians are insecure?
life.
Okay. Did you see any movies lately, Christian?
Believe it or not.
Before we pull out our guest, because we're talking about movies today. We're talking about movies.
Like she's in the box.
Well, our guest is in my hat, and we're going to pull her out shortly. Did you see any movies lately?
I did.
What'd you see?
I actually saw two. I've never done this before, a double-header matinee.
You've never seen a double-header?
No.
In your life?
In my life.
Wow.
And yesterday, I took on two big ones.
I once went at Wheaton College. They screened all three of the original Star Wars movies back to back in Edmund Chapel. They had a Star Wars.
That doesn't seem right.
It was a thing of beauty. It was. I was
a whole day event.
Yeah, I was.
The originals, not like the special edition ones with the
no, because it was before that.
Edition.
It was in the 80s.
Right.
So, and I went to it.
That's pretty cool.
Well, that's
Sat in the
sacred
balcony.
then.
That took a long time. Anyway, back to you, Christian. What did you see?
I saw Noah.
Noah.
And then Captain America.
Captain America.
Yeah,
Two.
it was
The
very
Winter Soldier.
interesting. The Winter Soldier.
Which one is more Christian?
I would say they were probably equally so.
Because Captain
America, Christian. You know.
They're all together.
And Captain America in the Avengers said there is only one God, and he doesn't dress like that.
Best line of the movie.
That was.
Ta-da! Captain America, Christian movie.
Well, they actually have the exact same thing. Theme.
Exact same.
Theme. Yeah.
Which is...
They share the same theme.
Genocide?
Which is good triumphs
Versus
over evil. In terms
Never seen that
of,
done in a film before.
you know, wiping out what was before to completely start over something new.
Okay.
And so, you know, both of them have that exact same theme. In Noah, we all know it was the world and all the people that lived in it. In Star Trek, it was, in Star Trek. In Captain America, I was sitting here looking at your Star Trek mug. In Captain America, it was S.H.I.E.L.D. And
But did Captain America have to fight giant rock monsters?
basically, yes.
Really?
You know, we had rock monsters in The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, the second VeggieTales movie.
I remember that.
Boy, were we ahead of our time.
You were. You always have
I never
been.
thought about casting them as enslaved fallen angels.
You also had little orange minion cheese puff people,
Yes,
which were very
yes.
much like the minions in Despicable Me.
That is right.
That's true.
Just limbless.
Right.
Wow. I should get a royalty from something.
I think so.
So did you, after watching Noah, lose your faith?
My faith was increased, quite frankly.
Stop.
It was. I walked away being challenged and inspired in the way that I think about God as the creator.
Okay.
And just the way I reimagined what that Noah story at that time period might be like. But I think the biggest benefit truly was that I took my 15-year-old who is on the spectrum and
Of Christian to atheist?
no, of autism.
Oh, right.
And he was so interesting because usually they have a difficult time telling reality from fiction sometimes. And he walked out and I said, well, so what did you think? And he said, well, it was more violent than I had thought, or a little bit more bloody.
The ancient world was.
He said, and I don't think that everything in there was true. And I said, that's pretty awesome. What did you think probably wasn't true? And he was able to say, you know, I didn't think there were rock people back then and some other things. And so we did get out the Bible and he read through that and we talked through each thing.
Cool.
And he had some awesome questions.
Did he notice Noah getting drunk and comment on that?
Yep. He asked about that and why that was happening and why he wasn't living.
And then did he find that in the Bible and say, good heavens, why didn't they tell me about that in Sunday school?
No, he did just say, wow, that part was true. But he asked deeper questions, actually. You know, he asked questions like, well, if God truly did know that this was going to happen, why didn't he just protect us? Why did he let Satan fall if he knew, you know, that it was going to lead to all this evil? And I thought that was a fabulous question because you get to talk really about the nature of who God is. And he asked about, you know, if God truly wanted to wipe out wickedness, why didn't he really wipe out wickedness?
Why did it spring right back up again?
Yeah. And so I thought that was a really deep question for a 15-year-old to answer, you know, ask.
So to get to the bottom line, would you recommend Christians go see Noah?
Let me tell you.
I need to judge your salvation.
Yeah, right. Let me tell you one other thing that it did for me. So Noah had this awesome respect for the sanctity of life, whether it was, you know, plants or animals or people. And that was commented on, you know, sort of in the movie, and he made that very clear. I was challenged to think in more of that same way, you know, how precious life is. And
have you stopped eating plants or animals?
I have not stopped eating plants or animals. That was another question he asked. Why could Noah not eat the animals before the flood and afterwards he could? That's a good practical question. No, I still eat plants and animals, but it was more just recognizing how much his idea of the sanctity of life and respect for life is very different than our 21st century idea, I think, of what...
Noah's or your son's?
Noah's.
Okay.
To be clear.
Okay.
Because sometimes Noah did kill things, you know.
You mean in the movie?
In the movie.
In real life?
He almost...
Well, did you see him in the Colosseum against those animals and stuff? He killed them all the time.
He did.
Oh.
He did.
Okay. So would
I recommend it?
4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, no stars?
The cinematography was amazing. It's hard to tell these days anymore what's CGI and what's real. That's tough.
I'm going to go see a movie this weekend.
Yeah. You want the
It's
bottom
either going to be Captain America 2
Oh, gosh.
or Noah.
This is the toughest question yet.
Which one do I go to?
No. Back up. This is a choice you have to make. Noah, God's not dead.
Oh.
Heaven is for real. Which one of those 3?
Those are my only choices.
Yeah.
I will be enjoying a day at home with a book. No, but seriously, if it's Noah or Captain America 2, because I don't have time to go see doubleheader, back to back, whatever
It was
that's
a whole
called.
day affair.
Yeah, it was. So what do I do? Which one? Knowing that I've already read Genesis.
You know, quite frankly, you are going to sit through this podcast and our lovely guest is going to tell you even more information. So I think there will be sort of a spoiling effect to the movie Noah. So I'd say go Captain America.
All right. You heard it from her. Captain America.
We will be right back with our guest, Camerin Courtney.
Bye, everybody.
We're back with our special guest. We're joined by Camerin Courtney. Hi, Camerin.
Hey, Phil.
Camerin used to work with Sky at Christianity Today.
Camerin is largely the reason I have a job at Christianity Today.
Really?
Yeah,
You got
welcome.
her? You got her job?
No.
Well, I was working for Today's Christian Woman, and they, they saw the expertise that he brought
who knows
to that
women
arena.
like a
Who can help us understand women?
bald half Indian
That
man?
must be Sky. Yeah.
How did Camerin help you get your job?
As I recall it, the executives, the vice presidents at CT were looking for somebody to come in as an outside person to give their feedback. They were looking for a younger pastor to give them feedback at a retreat about their stuff, and Camerin had recommended me.
Yeah, it was actually a really cool story. Like this one,
So you
one
launched
specific
him.
person, I really did. Which I take
discovered
credit
him.
in some circles, and then the
Yeah.
fact that he was working at our church and then kind of went part time with that. I didn't really want to tell anyone at church who was disgruntled that he was leaving there. But people who are happy to have him at CTI, I was happy to take credit for that. But yeah, it's like somebody walked in my office one day and said, "Hey, do you know this person who sounds exactly like Sky Jatani?" And I was like, "Well, yes, I do." So.
They were looking for a half Indian bald pastor.
Right. That's
Right.
exactly what he said to me.
And they found him. So you were the editor of Today's Christian Woman. Do you know that was one of the 2 magazines that I first advertised VeggieTales in when I was trying to sell it myself? It was Christian Parenting and Today's Christian Woman.
Oh, yay.
And I drove out from Chicago to Christianity Today with my ad film and gave it to and met Marshall Shelley. He was there at the time. So that was like 1993. It was 1993. So, and you also, of the 2 of us, whose wife have you put on the cover of a magazine?
Nothing against Amanda.
She would probably shun the cover.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yes, my wife was on the cover of Today's Christian Woman once upon a time in the heady VeggieTales mania days.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I interviewed her and was at your house, and we took photos, and he was in Today's Christian Woman.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Almost made the cover, but
right.
I don't know what that means.
There would have to be a lot of Photoshop work, though.
Right.
Okay, and you also have done movie reviews. Yeah. And the reason I wanted to have you on is because we were talking, and you were talking about movies, and we were talking about Noah and Christian movies and people getting crazy about stuff. And
Cameron's a great movie reviewer, great writer, author,
Thank you very
speaker.
much.
Yeah.
I feel like you owe me that after I got you that job.
No, some days I really don't.
Can you water ski or juggle or anything else that we could add?
Shoot, no. Sorry.
Crochet? Do you do crafts? What's your biggest hobby? Number 1 hobby?
Watching movies. I just started taking a drawing class, so so you
can draw movies.
Learning to draw.
She'd be an animator.
Right.
Okay, so faith movies this year are doing quite well. This is like almost every week now. What are you talking about?
A new one comes out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought you were saying no.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Well, you mean
this is my agreeing face.
Doing well financially is what you mean. They're making big box office.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of them that are coming
There's other ways to assess whether a movie is not like winning awards.
God's Not Dead, overperformed. Heaven is for Real just came out. Produced by megachurch pastor T.D. Jakes. Took in an estimated $21.5 million over Easter weekend. Son of God overperformed. And Noah... how many of those have you seen?
I saw Noah.
So you saw the only one of the Christiany movies made by an atheist.
By an atheist.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
She just did air quotes for
I did air quotes,
listening.
yes.
Heaven is for Real was reviewed. One writer said, for conservative Christians, the film is the theological equivalent of feasting on marshmallow peeps and calling it Easter.
Wow.
You know, our friend Drew Dick just wrote a piece for CNN about that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we should have him on the show.
We should. His new book comes out later next month, so we should have
Did his commentary include any mention of peeps?
No, but he essentially made the same argument, which is the way the movie depicts heaven is not really at all.
Everyone you love will be there.
And riding on rainbow horses.
Didn't we already learn that in Tuesdays with Maury?
Everyone.
Or
was that where that was? I met him once.
The 7 people you meet in heaven?
Yeah.
Didn't he die?
Maury?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you.
How'd you meet him?
Not Maury.
Did you see him in heaven?
Mitch Albom.
Oh.
Mitch Abram.
Yeah.
Mitch Albom. Yeah, he's in Detroit.
Yeah.
We're way off topic. So
Noah, yes, I saw the most controversial of the faith-based movies that have come out recently.
These Christiany movies or flat out Christian movies come out, and I always feel a sense of obligation, like I have to go see it. I have to, because it's like your nephew makes a movie. It's like, oh, I got to go see it. It's my nephew. Or your kid's in a school play. Like, I got to go to this. It's probably going to be terrible, but I got to go to the school play because my kid's going to be in it. I feel that way about Christian movies, and I'm not seeing many of these, and I feel bad about it. You make the comment that many people are looking for the information or for some voice to tell them, should I see this or not?
Right.
Is this one that we're supposed to see or not supposed to see?
Should Christians see this or should they not?
And you think maybe that's the wrong question?
Yeah, I do. Because I don't think that there's a blanket statement for Christians. I mean, we all have different sensitivities.
But we're all on the same team.
Right.
So we have to row together.
We all play different positions on that team. And we all have different roles to play on that team, Phil.
Okay, so we have designated moviegoers?
Right. It's exactly
you
what I
have
mean.
to go see all the Christian movies. And as a Christian filmmaker myself, it's like, if I make one, I want everybody to feel obligated to come and see it.
But shouldn't there be sort of an invisible hand of the market, a natural selection process that says the good films, the good Christian films are the ones you should go see so that they'll make more good films?
Are you bringing Darwin into this?
And the bad Christian films you shouldn't see because you don't want more bad Christian films. We want more good Christian films.
Yeah, but
But good and bad is a very subjective. I mean, I think that there's a lot of... It's your thumb up or thumb down that really matters.
Not
are you the voice that should tell us which ones we should see and shouldn't see?
I haven't seen any, so I don't think so.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that makes me kind of crazy sometimes about the Christian subcultures. I feel like our definition of what's good and bad is more like what's safe. Or not safe. And like that tagline they used to have on a lot of Christian radio stations for a while, like safe for the whole family. And it's like, when did safe become our, you're welcome. When did safe become our highest value? You know, like what about artistic excellence and those
family
things as
became
well?
our highest value.
Yeah.
When
Don't get me
kids
started on that
became
one.
our highest value.
When we felt under attack.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think there's a lot of fear in a lot of these people who want to say, you know, yes, this is a good movie. This is a safe movie. This is one that Christians can go see and pay their money to because that's important.
But isn't a big part of the argument, this is the kind of movie we want Hollywood to make more of. And if we don't all go see it, they won't make more of this kind of movie.
Well, I guess it's, do we want them making some of these movies that are being compared to Marshmallow Peeps, you know, that are, you know, is this really the truest representation of our faith? This is what I appreciated
I'm a big
about
fan of Marshmallow Peeps.
Well, I mean, they're lovely and they have their place, but I don't think I want them 365, you know, a year, you know.
Probably not.
So there's a time and a place for them, yeah, definitely. And there's probably a segment of the market that, you know, supports that and wants that. But I appreciated a movie like Noah that just was much more artistic and brought kind of an art, you know, an interpretation and a statement and said something.
When you heard, hey, they're making a movie of Noah and it's going to be directed by Darren Aronofsky,
I was intrigued.
What were you?
Yeah, because I saw Black Swan and I'm like, that's so dissonant. And so I was really intrigued to see what he was going to bring.
My first thought was, this is not going to go well.
Well, yeah,
that was my first thought.
But that's kind of intriguing.
Do they have any idea what they're doing?
Yeah.
Because this is not going to go well.
Well, and how has it gone financially?
Medium.
Like
medium. It's not
a failure.
It's not a failure. No.
But not a success.
Not a big success. No.
How will it do overseas?
I don't know if we know yet. I don't know if it's out in all territories. They would be more open to a very artistic retelling of a Bible story than we would. Yeah. I think, is there a sense in some Christians that if we go see this movie, if we vote with our dollars, we're saying we endorse rewriting the Bible?
Right. And think that this is all factual and that this is, you know, we agree 100% with Darren Aronofsky and his take and not room for, you know, I might not agree with everything in this film. I might envision some of these events going down differently, but I mean, good grief, we can't do a documentary on Noah. You know, there was no dialogue in the Bible the whole time they're on the boat, so he's got to take a few liberties.
What about, like, 10 years ago now is when Passion of the Christ debuted, the Mel Gibson movie. There were quite a few liberties in that movie.
There were liberties.
Like the little demon baby thing. That wasn't in the New Testament. Or even the very graphic depiction of the crucifixion, of the flogging, of all that, which is not talked about in Scripture at all. So how come people didn't flip out about the liberties taken in that movie, but they're freaking out about rock monsters?
I think because it seemed to be more in line with their understanding of the theology. You know, whereas some of the stuff when you hear somebody say on conservative radio, they've turned the story of Noah into a story about environmentalism. Okay.
It's the underlying messaging then.
Yes. Okay. It's like there's an agenda. It was clear in the kind of stuff that Mel Gibson did to elaborate the story that he wasn't promoting a specific agenda. It wasn't about, you know, environmentalism. There wasn't an anti-communism message. It was just, hey, I had to fill in there. So.
And what's funny to me about the environmentalism argument about this movie is like
we hate environmentalism.
Well, okay, you know, God didn't like create the environment or anything, but you know, it's not a really overt thing in the movie at all. I just feel like some people are almost searching for something to be angry about, and that's.
You think that's the case? Do you think some people?
Just like to be angry.
Like to be angry?
Maybe.
In both sides, in all sides. So how should a Christian, a new movie comes out? There's another faith, quote unquote, targeted film coming out later this year, in Exodus, with Christian Bale.
Really?
Yeah, Christian Bale playing Moses.
That could be interesting.
It's like
Who's
Bible
directing
year.
that one?
Oh,
Isn't it Ridley
I have to
Scott?
Look, he is, I think. Who's an atheist?
Is he?
Yeah. So there you go. See, but if an atheist,
Is he really an atheist?
He's a cultural atheist.
But then why does an atheist want to make a
Nominal atheist?
movie about the Bible?
They're looking for source material. You're looking for, if you're a
And they know
filmmaker,
there's a
you're
market
looking
for it.
I don't even know if that's
Couldn't
it,
they
because
make a lot more money, like doing superhero films? I mean, those are all the rage.
Moses was like the original superhero.
Not everybody gets to do a superhero film.
Well,
There's two companies that make them.
Oh, okay.
And they
The
have
rest
their
aren't allowed. They've
stable,
got, like,
because they
some-
own all the characters. There's DC and there's Marvel.
well, couldn't they make other ones?
But really,
No, you have to.
the Bible stories are about as close to superhero stories as you can get without being DC or Marvel.
True.
I mean, Moses, come on. He gets the superpower staff. He's calling down stuff from heaven,
Right.
the plagues. He's changing stuff to
So-
blood. He's parting the seas. It's superhero stuff.
So you want the Christian and or Jewish community to turn out. See, and that was the tension with Darren Aronofsky from the beginning. Is you know, fundamentally, he doesn't really care. I mean, he wants to make the movie he wants to make. He's not like, hey, I hope that I can do something that really hits a home run with conservative Christians. He's not that kind of guy.
No, he's
that
not.
would be Michael Bay if he was hired to do this as a, kind of a journeyman director. But if you pick an artist to do an artistic retelling of a story that they want to do, not that you're assigning them. This isn't Hasbro saying, we want you to make Battleship. Here's $200 million. This is a guy saying, I've got a version of this story that I want to tell, that I've always wanted to tell. That's a whole different thing. And you can't, I think it's almost a mistake to say, hey, let's start bringing in faith leaders to view this and review it, because it's not.
But that's a marketing issue, not
well.
a production issue.
But he did bring in
I know they did.
faith
That
leaders
was the studio,
just to
though.
get.
Yeah, the studio did. And
But
then,
he was president at several of those and engaged
and
with
then
them.
there were
and-
immediately reports of the studio putting pressure on him to change the film and go off of his original vision to try to make it more faith-friendly, safe for the whole family.
Yeah, I just wish that, can we still find something redemptive about a film that we don't completely 100% agree with? Like, there are things in it that I
Right.
found really, like, as Christian said earlier, that moments that made me look at it different as somebody who's heard this story since my flannel graph days. It's just...
Did you start out as a small flannel graph?
yes.
Okay, I got a question. Do you think it would be more effective to ask those kinds of good questions, the redemptive questions, if it was a completely non-biblical film? I'm thinking of like Les Mis or some other...
If you could get past the singing.
Yeah, the singing was pretty bad. But
Some of it.
But I think we have a hard time. The reason why we want biblical films is because we don't bring a biblical worldview to the non-biblical films that we do
Right,
see.
which we should.
Which we should.
Yeah.
So then we wouldn't be as kind of nitpicky
Then it wouldn't be
about
as all or nothing.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't be expecting so much from our biblical films.
Exactly.
Yes.
See?
So you figured it out.
Yes.
I think
you
so.
guys have figured it out. But we're not, the majority of us are not accustomed to looking at subtexts and, not accustomed to looking at the values underneath the storyline.
But why not?
Because we've been raised on very superficially simplistic,
Yes.
good, evil, good wins, gets the girl. Ta-da!
Yeah.
And we're just not, we're not raised in poetry, we're not raised.
I guess I just wish that we, especially as Christians, as people of faith, were on the forefront of some of that, of being able to parse the nuance of films and being able to appreciate subtext and some of those things. The subtext is sadly lost on a lot of mass Christian culture and mass Christian audience.
But wouldn't that be true of all cultures?
Yes,
is there any
yes.
subculture that's just awesome at subtext
Yeah, actually there
besides English professors?
Well, I
as a
heard an
subculture?
interesting argument about why is it that there haven't been very many really, really gifted evangelical novelists. Whereas there are a whole slew of Roman Catholic novelists that are highly admired.
Right.
And one of the arguments that's given is that Roman Catholicism, being a sacramental stream of Christianity, has embedded in it a view that things can mean multiple things at the same time. So it can be bread, it can also be the body of Christ. It can be wine, it can also be the blood of Christ. It can there's a depth of mystery and multiple layers to things. So you can tell a story that on the surface, like a Flannery O'Connor story, which isn't biblical in any way, but it's just saturated with multiple meanings on a profound level, which is a mark of really good art and great literature. Whereas evangelical traditions say it's just the surface. It's one thing, it's one-dimensional, it's plain, it's straight shooting, and so we don't have a theology of sacrament that allows us to create art which is multi-layered, which is why we look at these films and we go, we just want to know right up front, on the surface, what does it mean? And don't mess around with the details.
Or even understanding that somebody can get, like I get something out of this and somebody else gets something else out of it, and that you can have different interpretations of the same thing.
Well, that's just
and
dangerous.
that both are fine. And that both are meaningful from an artistic.
Well, that sounds pluralistic and
do you like Harry Potter? Are you a Harry Potter fan?
Yes.
And do you find, so what do you make of the controversy over that kind of storytelling?
Well, again,
I assume
I think,
you see the redemptive...
Oh, totally. It's good versus evil, and we're rooting for the good, you know? And at no point are we ever like...
But they model witchcraft for small children.
Right, right. And again, it's not having to agree 100% and being a wise consumer of media. And I think just respecting our ability to watch something and value it as entertainment and trust our brains to not just be overtaken by anything we see.
Are you thinking that we're not very good with ambiguity?
No. Well, and this is one thing I will say, that working with the Jewish people where I work, I value that they really have a value of asking why. And they really wrestle sometimes very academically with their faith, but there's very much this sense of, like you're saying with, the Roman Catholics, there's a different approach, and there is much more of a, we have different interpretations, different understandings, and we're wrestling with things that aren't black and white in the Bible and aren't, and so there's this rabbi that has this interpretation and this one, and they have a value of debating and arguing those things respectfully, and can have different opinions on those things and still wanting to wrestle with that and wanting to parse those things out instead of just having a one note that everyone must agree upon, and it's just so bland, and just there's not a lot of room for artistic.
Is part of that, do you think, Sky, in church history, the fact that Protestantism splintered so broadly that people got very paranoid about trying to define, no, this is what my denomination believes, or this is exactly what I'm going to stand for, and you're off the reservation.
Yeah, I think it comes down to historical context. If you remember, Christianity originated as a non-Western, non-modern worldview, right? Which allowed for ambiguities and paradoxes and those kinds of things. Which is
what were their movies like?
Right. Which is where Judaism came from. But when you look at, even the early church was in that mode. But the Protestant tradition comes out of Western Enlightenment, modern thinking, which said there's absolute black and white, right and wrong. There can only be one answer. And so because of that tradition, we've had to fracture again and again and again, because we don't have a tradition that can tolerate the gray.
Right, right.
And it isn't because the world is entirely black and white. It's because our tradition comes from an era in which it viewed the world as black and white.
Okay. Heaven is for Real just outperformed over the weekend, so it's going to get more notice and more people are going to go see it. Paints a picture of heaven, but a heaven where kind of everybody good shows up, and there's not a robust theology. So both of you, is that film net positive for the church or negative? Is it better that people are thinking about heaven in a secular society, in the secular context of a movie theater, or worse, that they're thinking improperly about heaven? You have 5 seconds to respond.
Cameron,
can I say net neutral? And it depends on how somebody approaches it. I mean, like any film, you can go into Noah and see all the negative things and complain about those, or you can engage somebody. So, I mean, if you use Heaven is for Real as a jumping off point for a discussion with somebody about what do you think about this, And again, being somebody who engages with the media that we see and not just seeing it as just this thing that we take in and are passive with. So I think it's what we bring to it.
I'd agree with that. I think, first of all, God can use anything, and I'm sure he will use flawed movies to do his work, and we trust that. So I don't want to just blanket say it's good or bad. What concerns me, though, is a movie like that misses something important, and that is the goal of the gospel is not heaven. The goal of Christianity is not to get to heaven. The goal of the gospel is God.
Right.
It's unity with Christ. And we too often use Jesus as a means to an end. We use him as a vehicle to get to heaven, use him to get my rainbow horse and wings and all that other stuff, rather than seeing him as the value and goal of life.
We could merchandise that.
Absolutely.
Like My Pretty Pony.
Yeah.
My Heavenly Horse.
So that's what concerns me about it.
Where's the ding? Where's
Call
the ding?
me.
There you go. So that's my concern: is people go, "Oh, heaven," and then I want to go to heaven.
That's the end game.
And certainly, the movie alone is not guilty of that, but a whole lot of American Christianity is guilty of making Jesus into a means by which I get to heaven.
What did you think? Did you read The Shack?
I've read most of The Shack.
What about you? No, not at all. Okay. It has an interesting vision of heaven as well, which. And a lot of, again...
But it's a fictional novel.
Yes.
It's not saying this is an actual vision
It's not saying
of
I
heaven.
went there and this is what it's like.
It's the difference.
But it was and some people were really upset by it, said this was not theologically sound. But it's kind of like, when Lewis handles heaven, in the end of Chronicles of Narnia, I don't really care if it's exactly right. It's compelling on an emotional level. He's created a picture the best he can do that actually is inspiring of what it could be like, but probably isn't exactly. And the question is, are we comfortable with that? This is just giving you a picture or a taste of something. It is by definition inaccurate, but at least it gives you a taste.
Well, and I think also you think about anybody who draws, like artists throughout the years that have drawn pictures of Jesus, famed, portraits and pieces of artwork. We don't know what he looked like, so each of those are taking liberties as well. And we don't get all up in arms about like classic pieces of artwork and say that they're blasphemous or the way that they depict different scenes from the Bible. So there's got to be room for interpretation and for...
I think we're getting more concerned.
Artistic,
But
getting more concerned.
I obviously agree with that. I think the difference is when you claim, I've seen heaven.
Yeah.
True. I mean,
that's a little bit different than... I'm going to sit down and draw what I think could be a representation of heaven versus saying I've seen heaven, and so that's where I think it's a little.
But with a movie like Noah, that is, something that happened, and people have a different idea of how that went down.
I think if they market it as this is the definitive story of Noah, as the Bible miniseries did, but he didn't market it that way. He's saying we took the source material, we were largely faithful to the source material, but this is an artistic venture, it's a film, and here's our story of Noah.
And I also think it's telling what we get up in arms about, because I read somebody who said nobody seems to be talking about the fact that all the people in the film Noah are Caucasian people with British accents. It's like they don't
That's what the ancient world looked like. It was British.
Exactly.
It's what the Roman Empire looked like. It's what all ancient... the Assyrians were British.
Are there really no minorities?
Not that I remember seeing.
Because it's pre-Babel. That's when minorities were created. I'm probably wrong. Christian, what's the one question you've been burning to ask us?
I really would like Courtney to talk more about the movie. Exactly what you thought was redeemable about it.
What was redeeming in the film for you?
I loved the scene where they're in the ark and they're floating on the sea, like everybody's just been killed. It's a very violent movie, as she was saying. Like, of course, your son. We put pictures of, Noah and his ark on all these nurseries, and, it's a horrible, violent story. I mean, it's the annihilation of almost all of mankind. And
it's what I want my children to think about when they begin their life.
When they're trying to fall asleep at night.
Right.
But there's this little vulnerable ark, floating on the water, and you just realize how vulnerable and just how, just this tiny little bit of creation is left, and just God's wrath is just swimming all around them. And it's just, I don't know, as somebody who's heard that story, again, very sanitized, very safe, grateful that I've learned it since I was a child, but there's something that you lose in that. And so seeing some of the grandeur and some of the sense that this was very tenuous and that God really just redeemed and saved this little pocket of humanity from the rest of this death and destruction that was swirling all around them. So, and just even seeing the whole way that they got the trees for the ark, like in the movie, they'd gotten a seed from the Garden of Eden and they planted it, and like instantaneously this like forest grew. And it's just, I don't know, to think that back in that time, you know, that was only 10 generations into creation that could have happened. You know, that, do I think that that's exactly how it happened? No, but it's just amazing to think that our God, who can do miracles, could have done that, might have, you know, and it's just, it fires the imagination in the sense of like, this is a real story. There was violence, there was, you know, there was danger, there was mercy, there was redemption, and it just, I think the more you realize the intensity of the story, the more...
I have noticed, which I think is a little bit telling, a lot of the comments from people that are hypercritical will point to somebody else's website or somebody else's blog and say, this guy explains how it really happened. You know, this, so we tend to find, we hear someone else explain it, we latch onto their explanation as definitive, and then we're offended by any alternate explanation, you know, and we want to throw this one we heard once. I heard this guy once who explained it this way. And that's pretty limiting to storytellers, but even, you know, even to preachers in terms of, there's more than one way to read the same verse.
Oh, most definitely.
You know, and to try to tell the same story. Okay, last question. Sky, how should a Christian know whether they should see a movie or not?
How should they know?
Yes, how should they decide?
Oh, man.
Just
any movie you're talking.
Yeah. Yeah, what are we looking for? What matters?
Well, sometimes you don't know until you see the movie, right?
So just see everything.
No, I'm not saying see everything, but I think what we should do is look for films that are going to, in some way, reveal what is true, what is good, what is beautiful. And sometimes what's true is ugly and painful. It doesn't have to be a happy story, but it's true. It reveals something true about our human condition, something true about our world, something true about God. Beauty. And that beauty doesn't just have to be a visual beauty of a film, but a story that is redemptive, a story that is loving or compassionate or whatever. And good, meaning that it reveals something hopeful and faithful. And that's true of all kinds of great movies. So those, I mean, last movie I saw was the Muppet movie, which we talked about last time. On the true good and beautiful scale, it wasn't real high.
Okay.
But what was good and true and beautiful is I shared that experience with my kids. Okay. And that was a fun thing to do as a family. So that's what I would look for.
That's why I took my kids to see The Wolf of Wall Street, because it wasn't a great movie, but we had a shared experience.
That's what matters.
And that's what matters. Do you have anything to add to that? How do you decide what movies you want to see?
Well, I think it's knowing your own sensitivities. I mean, I think there are Christians who maybe shouldn't go see some of these movies. If they are real literalists, if they are newer in their faith and don't have a good grasp of what some of these stories are, by all means, don't go see it. But it's an individual thing. It's knowing who you are. It's, you know, if you feel like, maybe I shouldn't see this, like, pay attention to that, you know. But here, you know, do some research if it's something that seems controversial. I mean, I'm not going to necessarily research, like the Muppet movie, but
you never know.
You never know what they might slide in there.
Messages.
Yes, right. But
dogs and cats living together.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But I just
Gonzo and that chicken, I find
Gonzo
an abomination.
That chicken, multiple chickens.
Well, what is
that
Gonzo?
Little polygamist Gonzo. He's got like 20 chickens he's running around with.
He's ambiguously specied.
Yeah, he is.
We don't know
Which could make some people really up in arms.
I'm up in arms already. Hey, do you want to go to see the movie called Noah? I think that it could show one or two of us some things that aren't really in the Bible. I'm not sure theologically if it's very reliable, but it might be artistically inspiring and may make you think of things that may have your pastor perspiring, but you may get a better picture of the ancient world and how dirty everybody was. Hey, thanks for being here, Camerin Courtney. It was nice to have you on the show. First-time guest. Will you come back sometime?
Sure.
Okay. You have to think of something else that we can be all cranky about, okay?
Okay.
Because we love to be cranky about stuff.
I
Thanks
can
for
do
being
cranky.
here, Sky. She can do cranky. And Christian will be back next week. Bye, everybody. For the 100th, remember to send in your questions, and we may or may not answer them. See ya.